Hello, Freakopolis. TJ.
And Ian.
Here at the Freakopolis Geekery for episode 7 of Freak Enterprise. That's our show where we tell you a little bit about some of the things coming to comics and game shops in the near future.
Yes, indeed, what you can find in your monthly previews magazine, but we focus in on the cool stuff.
That's right. We found some top picks to talk about tonight, and we have some news on the shop later in the show. So keep an eye out for that. And I've scoured previewsworld.com for some of the things that I'm really excited about that is shipping in April and pre-orderable right now. And some of them you might be familiar with if you've been paying attention to comic shop news and comic book news. And I think some of them might be sort of underdogs.
Yeah, well, we try and find a good spread between the really major Marvel, DC, big stuff, and then the indie stuff that might fly under the radar, but there's so much good indie work done in comics that you cannot ignore this stuff.
I know, yeah, and the pitches for them are great, so it's easy to bring up on a show like Freak Enterprise. So let's get right into it. We take a look at previewsworld.com in our first book of episode 7.
Speaking of notable characters.
Yes, indeed, is Empire #1 of 6, written by Al Ewing and Dan Slott, with art by Valerio Sheety, I'm going to go with.
We try our best, we really do.
Especially on that one. So this is kind of shaping up to be Marvel's first big event of the year. They've I guess since like Secret Wars maybe, events have been a huge part of the big 2 publishing schedule, and they aim for a couple of years, and this is looking like 2020's big crossover event.
No doubt. Some of them are better received than others, for sure. It tends to be that there's just so many tie-ins to these events that you can't keep track of the whole story, even if it's a really good story.
That's true. Although they've been doing a lot better, they've kind of changed their model for that sort of thing in the past couple of years. A lot of the times now, you'll have one main title, and where in past years, the book would cross over into ongoing, so there would be an Amazing Spider-Man Civil War tie-in, or an Iron Man Civil War tie-in.
Captain America.
Any of those books that you're regularly pulling might end up having an issue that seems disconnected from the rest of the arc because it has to do with an event like Civil War. But so far, they're not. They've kind of changed that approach and are now they do miniseries that tie in. So if you want to get the whole story, you can get the miniseries for Spider-Man, and it's a separate book from Amazing Spider-Man. It lets you sort of experience it if you're really digging the current event.
That sounds like a much better model to approach these huge crossover events with. And what's Empire all about?
So Empire, it's taking the Marvel Universe cosmic again. It's a Kree and Skrull. Not war, because in this case they've united under a new emperor.
Wow.
And their war fleet is on a collision course for our world. But that presents some problems because some of our heroes have different approaches on how to deal with that sort of thing. The Avengers are ready to strike with the full power of Earth's mightiest heroes. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four, who have been out exploring in their current run, are seeking a more diplomatic solution.
Oh my.
So I think we'll see conflict between Earth and the Kree-Skrull Empire, as well as some conflict between our heroes as well.
The Kree-Skrull.
Natural taste in my mouth to say that.
It's very scary. And of course, Al Ewing, sort of one of Marvel's golden boys right now. He's been writing Immortal Hulk for a couple years now, and that book sells like bonkers and is bonkers itself. And Dan Slott,
heavy hitter.
Yeah, veteran with Marvel, having written like 300 issues of Spider-Man or something like that.
Wow.
So a great creative team. And speaking of which, we can get a look at the art. No lettering yet, so we don't know exactly what is happening inside these panels, but I'm going to guess that's the new Emperor
Of the Skrull.
Of the Kree-Skrull
Empire.
Right. We've got a shot of our Avengers, the classic trio, as well as some of the other current members. And I like this art quite a bit. I think the coloring's really strong.
There's some awesome reflection work in Iron Man there.
Yeah, Iron Man's helmet and shoulders look great.
Yep.
This is the current costume for Thor from Donny Cates' current run.
Keeping up with that.
So kind of house style, but with maybe some of that vibe from that we saw in like House of X and in Powers of X, in the coloring and in the facial features and stuff.
Boom!
Yeah, Ghost Rider clearly playing a big part with a Ghost Rider
Jet?
yeah, Quinjet
That's
maybe.
awesome!
And then on the other hand, we've got the Fantastic Four, who seem to be in the audience of the new Emperor.
Integrating themselves.
Yeah. And so this is shipping with a couple of miniseries. I think Spider-Man's getting one, a couple of others too, as well as a handbook to sort of guide you through the whole book as it's being published.
Well, that's kind of cool because one of the best things about House of X was the supplementary kind of extra information that they would give in between chapters and issues.
Yeah.
And Empire, if it promises the same thing, then maybe it will make one of these huge, huge Marvel events a little bit easier to follow.
I think so. Yeah, promising to shake things up and show all your favorite characters. Empire hits shelves on April 15th, 2020.
All right, keep your eyes on Empire.
Up next, Lunacraft #1, another miniseries. This time not an event. It will probably be a little more succinct.
Okay.
But written by Kieron Gillen in Jim Rossignol. I'm not familiar with him, but I am very familiar with Kieron Gillen. A word on him quickly.
No doubt.
Kieron Gillen has been in the comics world since around 2006. He was a journalist prior to that, did a bunch of stuff with writing Warhammer and like White Dwarf magazine and stuff like that. He's a British comic book writer currently. Has done a bunch of stuff with Marvel, like Uncanny X-Men, Young Avengers. He was actually heading up a lot of those events that you were talking about, that kind of drew some ire from some comic readers because they were so spread out amongst the line. So since then, he did a bunch of cool, interesting stuff with Marvel, but now he's taken himself to creator-owned books, like things that Image is publishing, like The Wicked and the Divine.
Sure.
Great series, which is now, I think, just about to end, if not has just ended its run at 45 issues.
Wow.
And that's a little bit about these gods who are reincarnated as humans every 90 years. And in this case, they reincarnate into basically like pop stars. So all the gods are pop stars, a little bit American Gods, but of course you see the worst of these reincarnated humans, or gods rather.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, so really, really fun book there, as well as recently he's done Die, which is a book that I really enjoyed. We brought in a bunch of copies this week. They sold off the shelf. Yeah, It's a hot book because it has a lot to do with role-playing games. It's kind of like a dark fantasy reverse Jumanji situation where the players go into the dark fantasy world that they're playing in, and you can play in it sometime soon because Kieron Gillen is writing a role-playing game that fits the setting, and it's a unique rule system. I've looked through the sort of alpha test of it, and it's really, really interesting.
This creator is after my own heart.
Yeah, really smart guy. His books get really dark. I think they deal with a lot of, sort of the worst places that humans can go in a sense. But that's what art is for.
No doubt.
On the other hand, this book, Lunacraft, sounds zany.
It's immediately giving off a completely different tone.
To say the least. We've got the cover here with this big, burly, red-headed guy in this sort of world that seems to be coming apart at the seams. Series premiere, The Lunacraft, the Ludicrous Aristocrat, a collision of the ornate fantasy of Dune and an M-rated Asterix and Obelix.
Oh my.
Yeah, so it's kind of like these, the sense I get is these sort of multi-dimensional paragons of different aspects, but they're all this kind of crazy, zany, like that. It's like a meritocracy where as zany as you can get is what gets you ahead in
Sure, that's how you climb the ladder, is by being
exactly.
crazier and crazier.
Yeah, so sounds like really funny. Definitely like a bit of a departure from Kieron Gillen, but the dude's super talented, so I believe he's probably going to put something really fun together.
I just noted an interesting detail.
The
cover. When we zoomed in there, he's wearing a belt that says Spite on the front.
Right, so maybe that is his aspect.
Right, exactly. He may represent that very emotion.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have a great sense of what these people are aristocrats of, but we've got some interior pages here that I read through earlier, and they seem to be this is a wedding of some sort between some Lunacrafts.
No doubt. I like the folks in the aisle, the fishbowl man head.
I always love a guy with a fishbowl head. Like that's such. I don't know. It's just kind of
a thing.
Yeah, a motif that it pops up in different books. I feel.
Sure.
Like.
No. Yeah.
So yeah, some really cool interior art. It's kind of cartoony.
Immediately speaks to the zaniness.
Yeah,
of this.
but meshing with some weird styles
Oh,
too.
yeah.
You get some stuff that's kind of like syzygy from Curse Words or something. And boom, it gets right into the brutal nature of it. That wedding is put to an end.
Now I'm almost certain he is spite.
yeah, that's when you said that. I was like, oh yeah, having read that makes a lot of sense. And then we get a look, sort of at their world. This is kind of their party in a sense. It's like a VR sort of situation. Yeah. So pretty out there. Lots of interesting concepts being thrown around, and the sure to be action packed. Apparently.
Very colorful. No doubt.
Yeah, the coloring's great. The art is really, really fun too. So that is Ludicrous from Kieron Gillen and Image Comics, out on April Fool's Day. How appropriate is
All
that?
right then. Next up.
Up next, I think something you'll be interested in.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
The Aliens original screenplay #1 of 5. I'm doing all miniseries this week. I didn't realize.
So.
But I love a miniseries, so it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, this is Aliens published by Dark Horse Comics, who've had the property for a while, but now they're taking a look at what the original screenplay was like.
And what a beloved movie. I mean, I'm certain many of you have seen the original Alien, and how you can immediately experience as you watch this movie how influential it has been on horror and sci-fi for decades now. And so we have the original screenplay with all the awesome detail within turned into a comic book. Very exciting.
Very interesting, yeah. So this is going to be a different take on a very familiar property to most people. I find it interesting. The previous world says Aliens, which would be the sequel.
Alien, yeah.
But the cover here from Dark Horse says Alien, so
I wonder then,
I think it's likely the
second?
I think it's the first.
Okay.
I trust Dark Horse a little more with their own
Definitely
book. En route back to Earth, the crew of the starship Snark intercepts an alien transmission. So Snark, not traditionally the ship seen in Alien.
All right.
So we see things are changing already. Their investigation leads them to a desolate planetoid, a crashed alien spacecraft, and a pyramidic structure of unknown origin. Then the terror begins.
Yes, that sounds all very apropos to the setting, for sure.
I mean, we've seen that throughout the series, the crashed spaceships and desolate planetoids and, weird ancient structures.
So an original screenplay turned into this comic book so that we can see this perspective in this beloved universe on the page.
Yeah, very excited for that. I think if you're a fan of Alien or Aliens, you could probably glean some insight from this, where they, where it started, where it went eventually. So very cool. Horror comics are always super fun. Dark Horse kills it at them. So.
That page flip, when the alien springs from the vent, I guarantee is going to send a shiver down my spine.
And so that's in shops on April 22nd, 2020, just in time for Alien Day on April 26th.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So a little bit later in the month, but another one to keep your eye on, for sure.
And I didn't mention this, actually. Variant covers by Walter Simonson.
Ooh!
Of course, who, longtime Thor writer.
Yeah, Thor.
And artist. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. I wonder what his cover looks like.
I was going to say. Didn't know he was a fan.
Yeah. Have to check out previewsworld.com to see that for yourself. Up next, a very, very cool DC Gallery comic, Metal Batman PVC statue. That's a mouthful of a title, but basically it's from Diamond Toys Gallery line, which are very affordably priced statues. And it is Batman from his Dark Knight's Metal run as he prepares to face off against, he dons his 10th metal armor for his battle against the Dark Knights themselves. It's at 1/8 scale, so you're talking like...
pretty sizable.
Yeah, 10 inches or so.
Wow.
But you get this great diorama with these cool sort of tentacle pieces that he's chopped up with this crazy cyber sword.
I always love Batman with a sword for some
No,
reason.
it's awesome. And his cape is great too. It's got a great
Torn and punched with holes. Yeah.
silhouette to it. I really like this costume, to be honest.
Man, they made him. They threw an extra 100 pounds on Batman as he
he's
prepped
looking
for this
beefy,
fight. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he's got a cool like bat shield too. So we like these lines a lot, the Diamond Gallery stuff, because they look great and are fairly affordable at $50.
Oh, yeah.
Hard to argue with that for a pretty sizable statue to have on your shelf.
So Batman generally kind of has a samurai-inspired look to his armor often. This time, he embraces the knight in the Dark Knight.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that was a central point in Dark Knight's metal in particular. We saw all those alternate versions of Batman as they came over from other universes, and they were all heavily decked out in pieces of armor and sort of with different takes, but the knighthood of this is very, very present.
Which is super cool in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like that costume. I think you even get some of the bat motif like in the skirt and stuff, which I think is really cool. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. This, on the other hand, is shipping in June.
Okay.
June 24th, 2020. A lot of these statues and toys and things have a bit further lead up time, just because they have to produce them. It's a lot easier to print 32 pages than it is to print a couple thousand awesome statues.
They also don't shy away from some really quality materials with these gallery pieces, especially when you pick them up and you feel the weight to them. You'll know that it's more than worth the price of $49.99.
Yeah, totally into their line in general. And I think this is a really cool piece. That book was great.
Yeah.
Dark Knight's Metal was
crazy.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So to finally get Batman as he faces off in his 10th metal armor is really, really cool. So that is our previews for this week's Freak Enterprise. All of these things are pre-orderable now. You can send us a message at facebook.com/Freakopolis. Definitely looking forward to Lunacraft in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Empire's looking really, really good. I know you're pretty pumped for
Looking through anything alien from Dark Horses.
Yeah, it's great. So, we're definitely jazzed about these. Or you can send an email to tj@freakopolis.com. But we have a couple things new to the store this week that we wanted to talk about as well.
A little extended episode.
Yes, Star Wars Legion is now available at the Freakopolis Geekery in Whitehall, New York. We've been sort of testing the waters with this for a couple weeks now.
And the community has been on hard. It is looking good.
Yeah, so we brought in a bunch of commanders and expansions and cool accessories for the game, as well as a core set. And we're going to continue to support this, I think, for some time, as we have a fair amount of stock, and we're going to keep growing that as the community grows. We're doing a number of events for this. I think our next one is
The 9th.
the 9th, I believe.
And then every other Sunday is indeed the plan. There's a few reasons why Legion is so cool and why I believe our community is beginning to love it. For one, Star Wars.
Yes, great property.
Yeah,
for sure.
you can always love the moment you bring forth your Darth Vader in his movement and the rebels begin to shy away under their barricades. That is, those imageries and scenes are made through this game.
Yep.
Or when your unit of Wookiee specialists comes emerging out of the forest. This is the excitement that this game brings forward, as well as all these beloved characters, like I had mentioned, Chewbacca, Darth Vader, Han Solo, and a few of the more subtle ones too.
Krennic and a number of the sort of characters you know and love are available through Legion. You can use them to command your units of stormtroopers and rebel troopers. So.
And then the other thing that makes this awesome is the price point. These characters, these units, generals that would usually lead your armies into combat for other miniature games, they can be rather pricey, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
These ones are $12.95. They're easy to pick up, easy to get the rules, and just throw them on the map. It is super fun to see everyone collecting up their favorite armies.
Yeah, the price point's really nice. The line is fairly wide. We've brought in rebels and Imperials at this point, but they have a whole nother half of the line that is droids and clones from sort of the Republic era. So 4 different factions to choose from. We've got some great sort of leaders in the community already that have fairly sizable armies.
And a lot of experience.
And they're happy to share while you learn to play. So next Sunday, February 9th's event is open to new or veteran players. You don't need to have any prior experience or any army, but if you do, you're welcome to bring those as well. And we'll get some gaming going. We're very excited to have this hit the tables.
No doubt.
It's a super, super cool game.
So that is Star Wars Legion, available now.
Up next.
Gotta shift ourselves around all the time.
Yes, our painting contest, the second in our series, has begun.
Yes, it's already started, and people have grabbed their hill giants to begin laying down the paints and bringing their unique vision to this model, which is an awesome one, by the way.
It's very, very cool. You might have seen Ian's reveal live stream last night, but here it is again, the hill giant. He's fairly sizable.
No doubt.
Quite a prodigious size. Yeah, there we go. And a ton of great detail to play with. You've got some soft fabric materials. You've got some hard stuff like in his club or his rock. You've got some fleshy stuff. So
some muscle and flab.
yeah, lots to play with there and really make him your own. So if you're interested in getting in on this, it's going to run for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We'll get you guys a date on sort of final entry soon. But we've got a couple left. Most are reserved at this point.
I was going to say,
some
not as many as I had thought yesterday when we made the announcement. We are actually running rather low. So if you want in on this, it would be better to stop in sooner than later and grab your giant.
Yeah, and we've got the paints to support it, so you can make something really cool. Cost of entry is $20, but we've got some great prizes for the winner, and it's a great way to share techniques and thoughts on how you did it and see
Meet
different
people.
approaches. Yeah, who also love painting.
Exactly.
So, super fun. Very excited for that. Our Clockwork Dragon one went really, really well. Thank you all for participating in that. But we have plenty of room if you want to try your hand at a hill giant.
Very
sometime
cool.
soon. So thank you so much for joining us for this week's Freak Enterprise, guys. Have a blast doing the show. If you saw something that interested you, send us a message here at facebook.com/Freakopolis.
It's a lot of F's.
Yes. And we'll see you guys soon.
Catch you later, guys.